All right, good morning, or at least it's morning for me. Here, what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to go over with you what it is I'd like to see from you for your data analysis. So, I'm going to talk about how you can transcribe your data and then code it, and then put it into an Excel sheet, which we'll be working with, which will ultimately lead to the write-up of your results. So what I did was I just pulled some text that I found online and made it into a mini transcript here. And then I created some research questions based on that. So this is obviously artificial, but the purpose of this is just to give you a sense of what it is I want from you or what it is I expect from you as you go through data analysis. So the research questions for this mock data is: what approaches exist for qualitative data analysis, and how can researchers work to conduct a qualitative data analysis? So these are mock research questions to go with my mock transcript and my mock database. So what I want you to do, the first step you're going to conduct your interviews, and then you're going to have a transcript that looks something like this, with your questions as an interviewer and then what your participant responses were. And you'll save each interview, as its own file. So interview number one or whatever you want to save it as. And then what you're going to move towards is going to be coding. And at this point, I hope that you have the Saldana book that I recommended and that you've read it. I really do expect you to read it cover to cover. So if you don't have it, get it. And if you have it but haven't read it, please read it. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about is going to make sense if you've read that text. So make sure you read it. So anyhow, what you're going to have is you're going to have a transcript of your interview. And then what you're going to do is you're going to code that transcript. And I've already done that here so that you can kind of see what it is that it's going to look like. But you're going to use the comment feature in Word to start coding your data. And you have your interview question. And what we've got here is, tell me about how you use software programs for qualitative data analysis. And the participant responds: there are a number of software programs available designed to analyze data. These are probably useful for simple tasks, and so on and so forth. And so what you do is just highlight the text that you want to code, and then you go up here and you say insert comment. And you can either copy and paste some of the verbiage from here, or you can write what you think that this sentence means. But basically here the participant is saying that there are many different programs, okay? And then we move on to the next one and the next one. And you can see here that in this 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of text, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 comments, which will be codes. And so keep in mind that what I want to see is I want to see you splitting your data instead of lumping your data. So lumping data would mean I just highlighted all this and I have only one comment over here. And you'll see in the Saldana book that he talks about splitting versus lumping. And as a beginning researcher, I want to see you be a splitter, not a lumper. So you should have many, many different comments or codes for every passage of text that you have. So okay, so the next question is, tell me about how the researcher conducts a qualitative data analysis. And here I've got 2 codes. Ideas from the data are complex, and I've got researcher is more competent than software. And then here I would probably say researcher reviews the literature. And then here I would probably say also researcher conducts the interviews. So I'm deducing from this text that essentially the researcher is going to do interviews and also read the literature, and that's going to be part of this qualitative data analysis, and in fact it is. The researcher uses rational reasoning. And then this word superior is standing out to me, so the researcher uses superior rational reasoning. And then here it's telling us that the researcher uses a spreadsheet. Okay, so this is pretty well split now. You can see I've got lots of different codes. And so you would have pages and pages of transcript, probably 10, 20 pages. And you would do this for all 10 to 20 pages. And once you've done this, you would save this file and you would send it to me and I would look at it to give you feedback on it. And then you do the second one and you'd send it to me when you're finished and so on and so forth, okay? Once you've coded all of them, so once you've finished all of this, you will have a workbook, an Excel workbook that we will use to house your data. And there are lots of different ways you can organize this. This is how I organize it and what I like for you to use so that we can work together on this. And so up here, you would just have your interview questions. And I only have 2 for this example, but you probably have much more than 2. And then after each interview questions, you'd have a level 1 code, a level 2 code, and then a theme. And I'll show you in a second what I mean by that. And then you have the next interview question and the same thing, and so on and so forth, okay? And then, as I said at the beginning, you want to keep your research questions handy because essentially what we're trying to do is answer these questions. And so keep them in your mind, keep them near you. All right. Then here in this column, you'll have your participants. I use color to code my participant responses. So, you don't have to do that. It helps me when I sort later on to tally codes and themes, but you could find a different way to do it that works for you. So, okay. So basically what you're going to do here as level 1 for your interview is you're just going to copy and paste what you got here into this, okay? So you have lots of them, right? And let me wrap text because, oh no, it's not wrapped, but it should be. So there, and then I would, again, make this orange because this is participant 1. And same thing here. So tell me about the research, how a researcher conducts qualitative data analysis. I'd come over here to this one, and I just copy and paste each of these that I coded here. So I'd copy all of them. So I'm not going to do that now just for time savings, but you would do that. So you copy them all into there. And then I personally would make them orange because that's my color for that person. So that would be level 1 code. And so that's the first thing that you do. And once you were done with that, you could send it to me. I'll take a look at it and send it back to you. And then the next step is going to be a level 2 code. And different researchers use different terminology. The Saldana book has its terminology that it uses, but basically level 1 is this. It's just the initial ideas or impressions that you got when you went through the data the first time. And then level 2 is going to be kind of, you're going to start, if you could envision kind of funneling, you're going to start moving these codes here into better conceptualizations of what they might mean, okay? And then the third, you can do 3, 4, 5, how many ever you want, but the goal is to get to a theme, to get to, what is the overall thing. And so my guess, based on this mock data and research questions, is that one of the main themes is going to be that there are lots of different programs and that they can be used for lots of different things, okay? And so, but your data is going to be what tells you that. And so, then you move on to participant 2, you do the same thing. And eventually what you're going to do, this is where the color coding can be helpful, and definitely this database is going to be helpful, is you're going to have to report in tables, how many participants manifested theme 1, how many participants manifested theme 2. And so sorting that will allow you to do that. And then again, you want to keep track of the big picture. Sometimes it's easy to get lost in the interview questions, but the interview questions should have been designed to give you answers to the research questions. But always keep your research questions in front of you as you're reading your transcripts, you're coding them, as you're working with this workbook, because ultimately we're going to write up our themes that answer these 2 research questions. So that's